I mean,
How do
in
you
subsequent.
How many were live? Were you watching? You tuned in?
That's what.
That's what they said.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, but 2 million people eventually watched it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were talking about how the fact that the league has kind of responded to that by making preseason games available.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds a little reactive rather than proactive.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would.
And would you like to?
I would. I mean, there's no question that I thought there was a real understanding of players that were coming into the league and their popularity. I think it's unfortunate that we didn't see it last year. No question about that. Glad we're here now.
Right.
Yeah.
Now the next step would be getting a Lynx on one of those national broadcasts, right?
Yeah, for sure. Coming off the finals, being the winningest franchise in the history of the league, I think all those things bode well for maybe being on a national broadcast. But for now, we're happy that we're all on each of our games.
As you approach this first preseason,
Ken's he's feeling spicy today, isn't he?
What was that?
You're feeling spicy today, huh?
Well, we didn't
Actually,
get to talk to you.
we go like this. This is what Ken's doing right now.
You sound just like somebody I know. As you approach this first preseason game, given the fact that you have so much continuity with your starters in particular, what is your kind of goal in terms of what you want to look at?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you're seeing with the first two preseason games, especially if you've got a core like Vegas has a core, you want to make sure they're getting some work together. That's certainly going to be our mindset, getting some work together without overdoing it, and also evaluating. We're going to be evaluating, obviously, players in terms of where they are, whether they stay in the camp or maybe they don't, or maybe they're still in the running for a position, or it's evaluation of lineups,
right.
Who's playing well together.
So generally the first personnel moves kind of come after that first game, or do you?
It could be before.
Yeah,
could be before. Yeah.
We're barely a week in, but when you bring in someone like Grace at this point with having a couple days under your belt, how does it match up with kind of what you were expecting in terms of her skill set, her fit here, and just coaching her so far, and kind of how she's doing at this point?
Yeah. The game is easy for Grace. Like, she has a great understanding. Her ability to get to her spots, I think, is uncanny. I watched it in college, and you think,
she just showed that at the end of practice.
Is she going to be able to, do that in our league, that sort of thing? And the answer is yes. She can get to her spot. She's got good size to her, good understanding. She's actually expanded her game as well. She knew that coming into the league. You can't just be a midi, unless you're Simone Augustus. That's hard to do these days. And so expanding your game to 3 and just carving out more value in that space. I think she's also carved out value of being able to play more than one position. She's not just an off-ball type of guard. I see her overseas, leading an offense, and so I think these 2 years has been well spent, and she's a good player.
Do you see her approaching this as like, hey, I have this fresh opportunity here at this point in my career where I have some experience, kind of know how things work, but like trying to really grasp that in a fresh environment?
Yeah, I don't know. You have to ask her that. I think she's trying to make her team. I think that's what her focus is. Anything else besides that, I'm not sure. She's pretty cut and dry.
That was a nice play she had at the end of practice.
Huge, huge. Good for her.
Talk about getting to her spot, right?
Yeah, tough shot. It was good. She had to make something of that. Like if there was a person, I think if you asked each of the team, like who would you want? If he didn't get a shot, right? I mean, their confidence in Grace is pretty high.
Last season at this time, you had talked about you wanted to get more three-point shots up. You wanted to focus more on the defense. What's the focus this year in training camp? Is it just building off of that, or is there something else you wanted to add?
Oh, for sure. We're trying to evolve a little bit. Some of the spaces where we weren't good last year, we want to try to be a little better. So we've been emphasizing the very things that you guys were talking about in the finals that we weren't good at. We're trying to clean some things up. We are, I think in terms of the offense, each player has maybe added a little something to the team. So we're finding different actions within the stuff that we already run. and in some cases just try to be as good as we were last year in the things that we were doing. So efficient offense. Defensively, yeah, we're trying to, kind of continue that identity, which, as we know, if you can have a top 2 defense, you have a chance to be successful with the offense that we have.
When do you expect AMAC to be kind of back into the mix?
Yeah, I don't have any expectations at this point. Like we're in touch with Mac, and we are having conversations. So it's not there's no expectation. I think we're just kind of listening to her, listening to her body, etc.
Well, she did play enough basketball in the last 12 months.
I mean, and I've said it before. I mean, I believe she's the oldest player on the team. Hope she's not watching.
I just want to close asking about Badu in the same way too, where you talked earlier on about being 30 but still a rookie, still that kind of like head spinning environment.
Yeah.
But how does she compare to what you saw from her on the Olympic and international stage, and really being able to like kind of work with her?
Rookie, right? This league is it's not easy to come from your comfort zone of having played for the national team and playing for Fenner, and she kind of knows what all that's about. This is completely different. New team, new coaches, new terminology, new whatever. Everything's new, and brings her family here, right? So everything is new for all of them. And so it's only been, like you said, just inside of a week. I think each day she gets a little more comfortable.
Generally speaking, if a really good player is coming over from Europe, where the game really is a very different game in a lot of ways, is there a position where it's harder than others? I mean, is it a post more difficult to move over, a wing, a guard? In your opinion,
How good is the European player?
Good enough to play for a
national team?
National team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all hard. I think the concepts. I think maybe the defensive concepts more than anything may be different from over there. As we know, the European play is a little more spaced out.
Right.
Their bigs aren't, like the bigs we have in our league sometimes, where they're, playing on the block. So I think those things are maybe probably the biggest differences, rather than a position. But I think right now European post players transition easier because of the game where our game has gone. The WNBA game has gone a little more like European style.
Is that maybe losing a little bit of the physicality, or is that like over talked about as a factor?
It's interesting. The Europeans are physical. I think we've had a big time challenge when we had Milic here. She would be so frustrated if the things that she knows she could do in Europe that you can't do here. Airborne defense is not a thing. So at the rim, when we're coming over and we're going airborne, she was like, what is that? So there's things like that I think are, but the physicality, FIBA ball, far more physical than anything that the WNBA puts on.
The Olympics was very physical, especially this year.
Yeah.
Or last year.
So FIBA plays that way, and you kind of go to the basket at your own peril. Like it's you better have a hard hat going in there.